Hey guys, today we have John Moorehead, West Point class of 1982. He spent 3 decades in program management, product development as a CTO. And John and I met a few months ago when he was making a big change in his career. So tell me, John, what point in life were you and what were the changes you were trying to make?
All right, so I had just finished a stint as CTO in a startup company in the hemp industry, and for financial reasons primarily, I was laid off from that company, and I was looking to move into either a research and development track or a senior director level track in the project management arena.
So when I look at your background, John, you had a lot of great experience, a solid track record. What was the issue at that time? What were the challenges you were facing?
So the challenge for me was every move I had ever made in my career from the time I left the Army until I met Tom, I had been in a position where I found the place I was going to before I left the job that I was in. And while I'm fine with networking the warm network, I found it very intimidating to go out cold and start talking to people about positions and advice and so on and so forth.
So you said you had a problem with reaching out to people you didn't know. So really growing your network. Would you say that was the issue?
Growing my network was an issue, and building up a good looking profile on LinkedIn was an issue. I was one of those people who was on LinkedIn because you kind of are supposed to be, but really didn't grasp everything that LinkedIn can do for you and all of the powerful tools that it has. And CareerNerds helped me fix both of those issues.
And John, I wanted to ask you, what were the things that you were going to be doing if you hadn't met with CareerNerds? How were you going to do your job search without CareerNerds?
I would have been in the mode of looking at companies, making applications, and working with my warm network people that I already knew. And while I probably would have gotten to a position that way, I got there a lot faster and got to look at a huge number of industries and a huge number of opportunities I would never have even thought of investigating, but for CareerNerds.
Well, John, I know that we actually had a group call to talk about this. You had done a remarkable job taking 81 networking meetings and converting that into, at that point it was 10, but I think later it was 12 companies that were interviewing you. What did you do to actually achieve such a high conversion rate?
Well, in our coaching discussions, you pointed out some things that finally clicked with me, that this is no different than selling a program or selling a project. It's just that I'm the program, I'm the project this go round. And once that clicked, it was a matter of falling back on marketing and business development skills and approaching every networking call as a potential job interview. And you can kind of break networking calls down into 3 categories. One where you're looking for an actual recommendation to a job within the company or within the sphere of influence of the person you're networking with. One where you're looking for a referral to somebody who can get there. And then the third type is one where you're extracting nuggets of information, good ideas, but there's no particular pointer to an actual position. And normally it takes 2 or 3 minutes to figure out what track you're on. And then I actually put down and wrote a script out of questions, of things to do, depending on which track we were heading down. And a lot of what happened with me was when I got into the referral or into the recommendation kind of a networking call, is I asked leading questions that got them to allow me to give examples of what I had done and how it fit into a particular position or into a particular industry. And it became a mini interview. And that made people very, very comfortable with saying, yes, I can not only take your resume and shoot it off to a hiring manager, but I can add a personal note that says, I've talked to this guy, he's got great experience, he's got good poise, you should really interview him. Huge difference between that and send me your resume and I'll shoot an email over to a guy who I think is hiring.
So it definitely sounds like you had a plan of attack for how that call was going. And that's always the best way to be doing it, is to be prepared, right?
Absolutely. Doing the homework before the call is huge. And, as things go, and I did not start out as well as I ended. The first few calls were kind of hit and miss, and I was feeling my way along. And then I got to things that started working. And if you do something often enough, you should either get good at it or find something else to do, has always been my theory. But, in terms of that, having 3 or 4 positions, ideally, that you could say, when they say, well, have you looked at our website? Yes. And I'm looking at requisition number, fill in the blank, fill in the blank, and fill in the blank, and here are the titles. And then that gets into a discussion of, here's the hiring manager. And then one of my favorite questions is, well, what do you think he would be looking for in a program manager, in a research director, in a whatever the job is? Then they'll almost always feedback, well, it would be this and this and this and this. And you can then come back and say, well, I can do 1, 2, and 4 really, really well. And I've got some experience in 3, and here are some examples of where I've done that.
Yeah.
And then from there on, it becomes a give and take. And like I said, it turns into a mini interview, and it makes it really easy for the person to then give you a referral with a strong recommendation for the hiring manager to do an interview.
Yeah, you did really good at that. One thing I always tell people, what CareerNerds gives them is 3 things: confidence, accountability, and the tools to actually execute the job search or networking. Would you say that that's what helped you? And if there's anything else you want to add to that?
Absolutely. And I got several interviews that came off of people searching my LinkedIn profile. And the work that CareerNerds did to help build that profile up and make it impactful was huge in getting to a couple of those interviews. One that we actually got pretty far down the line with, 3 rounds of interviews, came absolutely from a recruiter looking at my LinkedIn profile and calling me up and inviting me to apply. So that in itself was huge. The other thing that has happened is I have expanded my network dramatically. I was at 170 something contacts when we started, and I'm well over 700 now.
Yeah, you definitely have expanded your LinkedIn contacts. So what would you say, like, the critical thing in the networking element that CareerNerds helped you with in terms of getting those meetings and getting it effective? What would you say those critical things were in helping you with networking?
Making the initial contacts, coming up with a basic format to get started in the networking piece, and then really good coaching about how to be impactful in those networking meetings. And then I took it and ran with it and did a lot of the things that I used to do in industry days and government proposal development kind of work.
So it sounds like CareerNerds gave you the structure, the push to actually make the connections with those people, then the structure on how to actually do the call in an effective way. And then you were able to take your experience in business development and then layer on that and make it an effective networking, right?
Absolutely. And just generating the sheer volume of top of the funnel contacts was huge, because CareerNerds, your personnel can do that very, 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 very quickly, where it would have taken me a substantial amount of time to make it happen. So it was great to have CareerNerds filling the top of the funnel, and I could handle the middle and lower end of the funnel and put all of my time and focus into that to be able to prep for each of the networking meetings.
Yeah, I remember you even told me, you said, when you started with CareerNerds, you thought, okay, they make this brand promise that they can get you networking leads, but until it happens, you have this sort of sense of disbelief. Can it really happen? Isn't that right, what you told me?
Mm-hmm. That's 100% correct. And if I were approaching this by myself, I would have put much more information into the initial cold contact, which I have found out is a turnoff for a lot of people. I mean, I looked at some of the message structure that you were talking about, and I was shaking my head going, really, this is what we're going to do? And it works. It works like a champ. The number of people that came back and said, yeah, let's connect, and the number of people who said, yeah, let's have a meeting was excellent. I mean, it was everything you said it was going to be and more.
Good. I'm glad we were able to deliver on those expectations. It's funny, a lot of people think that in networking you have to write a lot in that first message, but what happens when you write a lot, you turn them off, right? And
Exactly.
what's the beauty of doing this within LinkedIn is that you have the LinkedIn profile, right? So they can, you write less, they click over to your profile, they'll see an optimized profile, they'll see what you stand for. You don't have to write any of that in the message, right? So that's sort of the mechanism of
Exactly.
LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
So,
and it, like I said, it worked like a champ.
so we talked about the networking meetings. We talked about the interviews you had with over 10 companies. What was the final result out of the process? What kind of job did you get?
So the job that I got is a business development executive at Idaho National Lab, and it's a director's level job, translating DOE government into industry speak. Be a director's level job or a VP level job.
Great. And what would you say if someone else is considering CareerNerds as a platform to help them in their next career move?
I would say that your coaching style and CareerNerds process is a tremendous asset for anybody. I mean, it was particularly valuable to me, but anybody can benefit from what CareerNerds does. And I will tell you that it was worth every penny that I spent and more.
Well, John, thanks. It was a pleasure working with you, and best of luck on your new job.
Thank you much, Tom. I appreciate it, and thank you for all of the help and for putting together CareerNerds so I could get what I wanted out of this process.
Awesome. Thanks again.